Hello, my name is Sade, and welcome to Flipped Upside Down. This is not a podcast. It's more like a space or a community for people trying to navigate this thing called life. I'm trying to figure it out, and so are you. So might as well do it together. If you've been here before, you might notice some things look different. This channel used to be called How Are You Doing, Really? The background has changed. The name has changed, and it's gone from having two faces to just one. But the purpose and goal of this channel remains the same. This is still a place for honest check-ins and a safe space to express the thoughts we keep inside. With this new format, I'm hoping to build a more intimate community that will allow for us to get personal. You'll get to know me better, and hopefully I'll get to know you too. So, before we get started, let's take a moment to just be. If you can, get comfortable and close your eyes. Let your body sink into wherever you're resting. Your chair, your bed, the couch, wherever you are. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Allow your mind to soften as you breathe into the silence. When you're ready, start wiggling your toes, your fingers, slowly bringing your body back to the present. And when it feels right, open your eyes gently and smile. So, how are you doing today? Genuine question. I really want to know. Please comment down below. Did anything good happen to you today? Did something annoy you? Does somebody annoy you? Just overall, what's the vibes like? As for me, I'm feeling flipped upside down, literally and figuratively. I started taking a pole dancing class, but we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. The name of this podcast comes from this clip. You can have a certain goal, a certain destination, but there's no set way to get there. Say you're going to go left, and for whatever reason you hit a rock and you end up going right, or you flip upside down, or whatever. It doesn't mean you can't still get to the top of the hill. You know, it might take a little bit longer. You might have to go through things you didn't plan or expect to go through. It's my voice and my words, but it resonates with me now more than ever. And honestly, that train of thought is one of the few things that is keeping me going. I'm hoping as long as I keep kicking, eventually I'll flip over and continue my journey. For most of us, the path for that journey is clear. Graduate college, get a good job, get married, buy a house, have kids, and live happily ever after. That was the path I was on. I'd graduated from college, gotten a decent entry-level job, and eventually met someone who made me happy. All that was left was a promotion, tying the knot, and popping out some kids here and there. On paper, life was good, but I always had this constant feeling of unease, like at any moment something bad would happen. It was probably anxiety. Actually, it most likely was anxiety. Anxiety with a side of imposter syndrome dipped in self-fulfilling prophecy. I remember when I got my first job post-college, I spent the first year expecting at any point to be let go for not being good enough for the role. So I poured so much of my time and energy into the job and prioritized it above rest because I felt inadequate. I felt like the only way I could prove that I deserved to be there was by making myself as useful as I possibly could. At some point in time, we're going to have a conversation about internalized expectations and the fallacies of not feeling good enough or deserving. But putting all of that aside, the irony of all of it was that I actually hated my job. It required so much of my time and energy, or early morning calls with Europe, late night calls with India, and in between my normal 9 to 5 windows, there were so many meetings. So many meetings and emails too. Oh my goodness, the emails never ended. There was too much on my to-do list and not enough time. There was never enough time. That feeling of having enough time also bled into my personal life, balancing the things that are attributed to being a functional adult, like having a clean house, making sure there's food, trying to find time to be with the people that you care about and to show up for the people that you care about. And somewhere, somehow in there, you also have to have time to exercise. Work took up the majority of my time on the weekday, and the weekend was spent catching up on all the things I needed to do so I would be prepared for the weekday. And even when I felt the looming feeling of burnout rising, I never permitted myself to rest because I knew one misused second could equate to weeks of playing catch up. So even in bed, my mind was constantly on all the things that needed to be done or hadn't been done. My mind and body were constantly on autopilot, and I felt like a hostage in my own life. And then I got laid off. My partner broke up with me, not in that order, and one didn't cause the other. It was just a series of unfortunate events. But I found myself in a space with an infinite amount of time where my only obligation was to myself. For the first time in a really long time, I had the freedom to wake up and do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, without the constraints of deadlines or promises. Time was no longer a fixed constant that kept my body trudging through the day. I'm in a unique position where I am time's master, not the other way around. Yet somehow I'm still enslaved to time. Despite having no obligations, I'm constantly bombarded with the feeling that I'm either wasting time, running out of time, or don't have enough time. What the fuck am I doing with my time? There's a lady I wish I could talk to. I don't know her name. I didn't really see her face, but if I heard her voice again, I might recognize her because it was her voice that caught my attention. Actually, it was her words. I was in the grocery store waiting for my turn at the checkout when I heard a voice behind me. Out of curiosity, you hear something. I turned around and took a look and caught a glimpse of the lady. She looked to be in her 50s or 60s, and she had her basket in one hand and her phone in the other to her ears. And I was about to like return to my business, and then I heard her say something that made my ears twitch. And she was like, "Yeah, he just got up and said he's done." More words followed, but I was able to put together the story. Her husband, that she'd been married to for so long, had decided to bring the marriage to an end. My mind immediately started running like, like her business was now my business. I was like, what? After all these years, why? What will she do? Where will she go from here? How will she even begin to start picking up the pieces of her life? I mean, like she has to start all over again. And at this age, all that time wasted for nothing. And then I heard her laugh. She started talking about all the things she had planned to do, how that night, for the first time in a really long time, she was going to go to a party, and how she was ready to go on with her life and all the things she was going to do with her life. And honestly, her conversation put a smile on my face. And it was the chaser I needed after some tough conversations with some friends who are about to turn 30. 30 is an interesting age. At 30, you're a little over 1/3 of your life and 1 decade closer to your mortality. 30 feels like a life checkpoint. You spend your 20s being, well, 20, and then a second after 11:59. The date before your birth, a random faceless thing appears in front of you with prerequisites for a successful life. Some of those things you checked off in your 20s, maybe some in your teens, but there are so many more that are marked incomplete. And you're stressing, frantic. More time. I just need more time. But there is no more time. Time doesn't give. It only takes. You try to take a step back, but that faceless figure grabs your arm and pulls you forward into your 30s. Standing shoulder to shoulder with others who have crossed the threshold into their 30s, you can't help but notice how much more things they have checked off than you. That person over there has marriage crossed off their list. They did that. The other person is getting ready to welcome their second child. It's- she has her dream career. And over in the distance, you see a face you haven't seen since high school, living the life you wish you had. Time doesn't give, but it is very fair. It gives the same amount of itself to everybody. The same time they had is the same time you had. So why doesn't your list look the same? Math is not mathing. What do I have to show for my years? When I was a kid, I remember looking at celebrities and artists and thinking, wow, how cool is it that they get to do this? When I grow up, I want to be just like them. Back then, everyone was an adult I aspired to be like one day. Now I'm older and all the talents coming out are younger than me. I'm always surprised when I look up their age and realize that they're just kids. They're only a couple of years younger than me and they've already achieved their goals. I'm 27, turning 28 in a couple of months. Not quite 30 yet, but I do have a few friends who are turning 30 this year, and it's from talking to them that I began to think more about time. The general consensus amongst them is that they feel like they've wasted their time. They wish they could have used their time better. And on the more extreme end, they felt like they were out of time, that it was too late to wish for anything different at 30. And when I ask them why they feel this way, they point to their peers who are obviously doing so much better than them as proof of their failure. They talk about how everyone else around them is successful and how they are nowhere close to the goals or the life they wish they had. I myself, I'm not a stranger to this feeling. It's a feeling I've felt since graduating college, but I've tried so hard to just push it down and ignore it because if I just work harder, then everything will work out, right? Right? Oh, oh, ugh, yeah, no, doesn't always work out that way, unfortunately. Um, um, I'm thinking back to a few days ago. I was crossing a 4-lane street with a median in the middle and the walking man, the little, the light man. He was lit up, letting everyone know that I had the right of way. And I probably had about 5, 6 more strides to make before I reached the other side when the car came flying out of nowhere, just inches, inches from my body. It felt like time had slowed for just a second to give me enough time to see the old lady in the car and then look up to confirm that she had, in fact, run a red light. The first thought that came to my mind was, what, what the? Yeah. The second, had I started walking a tiny bit earlier, I might have gotten hit. If my phone was in my pocket when I was waiting for the light to change, I might have started walking sooner. Had I started walking sooner, I would have been an inch closer to the other side. If I was an inch closer to the other side, I would have gotten hit. I don't believe in predestiny, but I do believe that a series of events accumulate to create a moment. The car was always going to come speeding and run the red light. I was always going to cross the street. My life was potentially saved because I was late in crossing. I'm working off of hypotheticals here, but I hope it's painting a picture. Being late in life is not necessarily a bad thing. And what does it even mean to be late? Like, yeah, sure. We all start kindergarten at around the same age. And every year we all get a year older, but that does not mean we all started at the same level. It's just a matter of fact that some people have advantages that you do not have. And that's not something we can control. Maybe they had, let's say, well-functioning, highly educated, loving parents that were there to guide them along every single step of the way, while you had to figure it out step by step and learn not by being told, but by making a bunch of mistakes because you had no one to guide you. Maybe, another hypothetical, they came from money and could buy or influence their way to the life that you are admiring. What emotional, physical, or mental baggage are you carrying that they don't? What responsibilities are tying you down that they are free of? The conditions in which they became successful is not the same conditions as yours. So honestly, it's not even accurate to compare yourself to other people. The only person you should compare yourself to in this life is the you of yesteryear. Earlier, I said it feels like all my friends who are turning 30 feel a sense of dread and disappointment because they're comparing their lives to others. But the question that I ask, if all my friends are feeling this way, whose lives are they comparing to? I spoke about the younger talents coming out, but it's not like we haven't seen new talents that are older in age. And what of all the teenagers and 20-somethings who still haven't had their big break yet? Does it mean all their efforts are in vain? When you're comparing your life to another person's highlight reel, it becomes much harder to see the progress you have made in your own. I know who my friends were 10 years ago. I know who they are now. Those two people are not the same people, for better or for worse. Those two people do not have the same wants and needs. Those two people do not have the same requirements. I feel like when we have the conversation of how I spent my life, there's a lot of focus on what we wish we did or did not do, opportunities we missed out on, and priorities that were misplaced. The had I known, then I never would have conversations. But frankly speaking, what good does it do you now to beat yourself up for how you spent your time in the past when the present is right here, right now, and the future is on the horizon? You didn't know, but now you know. So what now? Like, what now? What are we doing about it? You can't change the past. Trust me, you can't. But if anybody watching manages to build a time machine, please come back and comment "ha" under this video. Prove me wrong. I think it's important that we understand that the past created the present, But the present influences the future. So, what are you doing right now for the future? I actually asked this question to a friend of mine who was visiting from out of town. We were having a conversation about turning 30, and they said something along the lines of feeling unaccomplished because they did not have the resources when they were younger. So I asked them, what about now? 10 years later, they still don't have the resources. So I asked them if they were going to wait another 10 years. What if in 10 years, you still don't have the resource? The way I see it, if you're not happy with where you are now, you have two choices: do something or do nothing. Regardless of what you choose to do, time is still going to move. Choosing to do nothing to me feels like a silent admittance of content, because if you don't do anything, then the likelihood that things will change is low. Not saying it can't happen, but it's more likely that you and I can change our status quo by being an active participant in our lives. I am very aware of how naive that train of thought sounds and the privilege I have in being able to utter it. I don't have any dependents in my life who would suffer for me taking risks. And I don't have a job tying me down at the present moment. Unemployed. Money is tight right now, but I do have a little bit of funds I can throw here and there. So, of course, it's easy for me to just say, do something. But doing something doesn't have to be big. As vice president of the Cowardly Lion Association, because I'm too scared to be president, very rarely, very rarely will you hear me preach, go big or go home. My philosophy is to take it one baby step at a time. So what does that look like? For me, since it feels like I never have enough time, I've selected two tasks that require me to actively make time for in order to complete. The first is reading a book. Behind me, you see I have a few books on my shelf that I plan to read. The first book is all about love, bell hooks. Probably know this. I feel like a lot of people know this. I've heard so many people talking about it, and it's been on my to-read list for years. I went to a Black Joy Parade event in Oakland a few weeks ago, and I was walking, visiting all the stands, and I saw this book just there, front and center, and I was like, wow, what's my excuse now? Because it's been on my to-read list for such a long time. So I bought it, and it's the first book that I plan to read. Other books that I have here, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. I've read it already before. I haven't read the second book, No Longer at Ease, but I want to reread this and then read the second book. And there might be a third book, I don't remember, but yeah. And then I also have, don't fall, a couple of other things. These are just books, it fell. Random books that interest me. Women of Owu, haven't read it, but again, I've heard really interesting things. And then there's another book, The Philosophical Concept of Agu in Igbo Land. There was a period of time when I was actually very interested in Igbo, traditional Igbo religion, pre-colonialism. And Agu was one of the deities that interested me because they're like the deity of knowledge, but they're also a trickster deity. So they're very interesting concepts. So I wanted to read more about, I'm not even going to try that. And then the other book that I have is this book, The Invention of Women. I have been trying to read this book for so long now, so long. I think I've had this book for over a year now, and I've started it, I've stopped it. I got it because I first heard somebody talking about the sequel to it, What Gender is Motherhood? And in that book, she kept referencing this book. So I stopped reading that book and I ordered this book so I could read this book and have more context for the other book. And then I never read this book and I still haven't read the other book. So hopefully we'll get that done. And then the last book that I want to read, it's actually the latest in my collection. I got it, I'll fix that later. I got it maybe early or late last year at a bookstore. I got it simply because, I mean, like, look at that. Look at that cover. Look at it. It's gorgeous. Chronicles of Ori. I got it actually, honestly, purely for the aesthetics. It's also traditional pre-colonial stories about the religion and deities and stories about during that time. This one is more on the Yoruba culture. Oh, and the invention of women, it's also pre-colonial as well. It talks about what femininity meant before colonization and how colonization has warped sense of identity in Nigeria, Africa, but it speaks specifically on the Yoruba tribe people. So yeah, those are the books that I want to read. See how far I get in them. For a couple of years now, I've been saying I want to read, and I'll go to a bookstore, buy a book, and never touch it. So hopefully I can get through at least one book. I'm actually hoping to create a second channel to do a deep dive into these books. As you can see, they're all random topics. So I think that'll be pretty fun. And it's also going to be a way to hold myself accountable and actually get me to finish reading the books. The other activity I have in mind is this puzzle, which I also got at the Black Day Parade event in Oakland. And you can see I started it. Like the day that I bought it, I actually went and I was like, I'm going to do this puzzle. So I laid it out on my table. It's 1,000 pieces, by the way, in case you didn't, it's 1,000 pieces. I laid it out on my table and I've seen videos on social media of those puzzle making competitions. I was like, yeah, I can do that. So I did the first step, separating the edge pieces and then grouping them, pieces that look alike. And then I have not touched it since. That was actually a lot more work than I anticipated. But that's on me for getting a 1,000-piece puzzle. I probably have not done a puzzle since I was a kid, so I might be way over my head starting with 1,000 pieces, but we'll see. I don't have a fixed time frame of when I want to be done with either tasks, reading the books and doing the puzzle. The idea is that by forcing myself to consciously dedicate time to these activities, I can train my brain to get better at finding time for things. And disclaimer, I am not an expert in anything. My thought process could be completely flawed. This is just something that I am doing for myself, but if it sounds like something that interests you and you want to join me, comment down below what micro tasks or tasks you want to dedicate some time to. If you have a better idea of how to get better control or feel like you have more control, better control of time, please comment below as well. Very curious to hear what actually I would really love to hear because I don't know. Still trying to figure it out. Another thing that I'm doing is putting myself outside of my comfort zone by doing something I normally would not do or would give me anxiety. So recently I started taking a pole dancing and burlesque class. It's a 4-week intro class and I plan on talking more in depth about this experience and what I've learned about myself, my body, and everything when the class ends. But so far I can say I love and hate it. I'm very stiff and awkward, and I'm constantly in my head wondering how I look, but it feels like if I can learn to get out of my head, and it could be much more fun, a lot more fun than it is right now. But I'm hoping that by taking this class, I'll be able to teach my brain how to be fluid and it'll give my brain, the courage to be able to take my little steps or maybe even the big step. So yeah, that's the plan. Again, I don't know if this will accomplish anything, but I do know I'm tired of always feeling like I'm chasing time. So for me, this is something. Every week, I'll try to give a progress report on where I am with the puzzle and reading. And I'll be posting that on social media, Instagram and TikTok. So if you're not following me already, make sure you do so. And I will put the accounts links here and in the description. Uh, Thank you for joining me today. Hopefully this video was a good use of your time. And if you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want someone to hold you accountable for the micro tasks you've set, don't forget to comment below what you'll be taking on. Also comment if you have any topic in mind that you would like to hear me talk about. Like I said in the beginning, we are a community and I want to know what's on your mind. But until next time, bye.